Captain Paul for the Locker Room here. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. We're trying to reach 2,000 subscribers for end of February. And let's talk about them Buffalo Sabres. Man, they have been a team that has been Jekyll and Hyde at times this season. In my first video about Buffalo in the season, I said, man, they are on a hot streak. They are proving that they're going to be a playoff team. And then, go figure, as soon as I released that video, they went on a massive losing streak. And I had to make another video saying, I don't know if they'll make the playoffs because they're so up and down. Currently, they're on one of those hot streaks. They're doing really well in their last 10 games. They are 6-2-2. They're sitting third place in the wild card race in 49 games played, 26 wins, 19 losses, 4 overtime losses for 56 points. They are 1 point behind Pittsburgh Penguins with 57 points for that second place spot. And they are 4 points behind Washington Capitals, who have 60 points. The one thing is, they have 4 games in hand on the Washington Capitals. So it's not out of the realm to say that the Buffalo Sabres could be number 1 or number 2 in that wild card position. Let's talk about the Sabres and the construction of their roster. They are one of the best offensive teams in the league. They're third place behind Boston and Edmonton, who have 187 goals respectively. The Buffalo Sabres have 185. They can stack themselves offensively with anyone around the league. And let's talk about that forward group. Tage Thompson is a superstar, there is no doubt anymore. 49 games played, 34 goals, 34 assists for 68 points. This 6'6" massive behemoth who has jets, hands, and scoring ability, he is going to be a star for a very long time in the NHL. And Jeff Skinner has had a resurgence in 46 games played, 20 goals, 30 assists for 50 points. And then the hometown boy, Alex Tuch, 49 games played, 23 goals, 31 assists for 54 points. Done really well. And I will kind of mention some guys that have been key contributors through this season. Dylan Cousins, 43 points in 48 games played. Middlestat and Olofsson have also done really well producing on a third line role. Line 1 through 4, they all produce offensively, so there is no easy line to play against when you are playing the Sabres. Every single line has a player that can hurt you. And let's get into the defense. You have Rasmus Dahlin, 55 points in 48 games played. Mattias Samuelsson has come along. While not as offensively productive as Dahlin, he's done well in his own end. Owen Power and Yoki Haru have been solid contributors on the back end. Lyubushkin and Bryson are a fine bottom pairing defenseman, hoping that Bryson can kind of turn it around a bit and improve some of his defensive metrics. The interesting thing about this D-Corps is that they have 4 players that are going to be RFAs at the end of 2024, which would usually be pause for concern. But with $18 million in cap space, the Buffalo Sabres management have not spent their money foolishly. The Jeff Skinner contract, while a complete overpay at $9 million, still does not affect them because they don't spend crazy everywhere else. I think they kind of learned that lesson with Jeff Skinner, which is very important if they want to stay successful for a long time. Now, Tage Thompson will see a cap hit increase after this season at $7.14 million, but still, for that production and what he gives you, that is a friggin' bargain. Let's get into the most interesting position I feel like on this team is the goaltending. They kind of have like a 3-man platoon going on. Let me talk about the elder statesman who has been around the league but is still producing in 17 games played, 2.73 goals against, a .919 save percentage, an 8-6 record. Then you have Eric Comrie, who's not been that great this season in 13 games played, 3.54 goals against, an 884 save percentage, and a 5-8 record. And then you have UPL, 20 games played, 3.27 goals against average, and a 900 save percentage, 13-5 record. He has kind of come into his own recently. UPL's last 5 games, in a shootout loss to Minnesota, he had a 943 save percentage. In a win against the Blues, he had 893. Then a 919 against Anaheim, a 923 against the Islanders, and a 909 against Florida. It is going to be very important that UPL steps up and keeps turning into a viable starting option for the Sabres. They do have Devin Levi in the system. He's playing another season at Northeastern this year, and he's probably a few years out. So if UPL can be a very good starter or an average NHL starter, give Levi some time to learn in the minors. I mean, I really like the future of the Sabres, but let's talk about this season. What gives me hope is that the Buffalo Sabres are young. The Washington Capitals have a little bit of an older roster, same thing with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I'm hoping this youth and this energy can sustain them throughout the rest of this 82-game schedule. And they have one of the best offenses in the league that really does make you want to believe that they can make the playoffs. What gives me pause is their youth on the back end. They will play really well some nights, and then there'll be some nights that just off, and that's just youth. There's going to be peaks and valleys. So it's kind of keeping me on the fringe of saying that they will be a playoff team, just because while they will have streaks of a lot of success, there'll be equal amount of streaks of terrible gameplay by the Sabres. If I was to say right now, I think they will just miss the playoffs, maybe by a point or two. They just haven't shown me enough consistency to make me believe that they will not go in another downward spiral. But hey, Sabres fans, you guys have a really bright future, and I love your roster construction. I think you guys are going to be one of the best teams in the Atlantic for years to come. I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section. Do you think the Sabres are going to make the playoffs? If so, why? I'm Captain Paul. We're trying to reach 2,000 before the end of February. I'll see you in the next one. Oh, and yeah, I didn't say UPL's full name. I suck at pronunciations as it is.
By Tuck, and the Sabres have won it in Winnipeg. 3-2 your final score.
Yeah, Sabres did a great job from start to finish here.